Hello. I'll let everybody trickle in. I'm Aristotle, full throttle. You're bro in the know with the fro. And what's up, Will? We just fixing to talk about some fight scenes today. Some of the best fight scenes in movies, some of the best fight scenes you ever done see. Even more spectacular than that fight between Jeff Goldblum and that 80s skinhead punk rock dude. That was all the rage on the internet yesterday, which was pretty funny. It was a funny fight, although I don't condone violence. I don't think it was good. You pre-gaming here on IG. You got 30 seconds of pre-game. What's up, everybody on YouTube Live? Remember, these shows are saved on Instagram for 24 hours. Also, they're on YouTube in perpetuity. That's a good term. In perpetuity. I'm perpetrating these live streams in perpetuity. My rap career is taking off, guys. I was just studying rappers this week because I'm becoming a gangster rapper. Not a gangster rapper, but like a Scotch snap rapper. The ones that go baba da biba da bay, baba da biba da bay, dabba da bay, dabba da biba da boo, bibbidi bobbidi boo, bibbidi bobbidi boo. They're really the fairy princess from Cinderella. All of these rappers. That's what they remind me of. And now you can't unhear that either. You're welcome. Fantastic. So every time I listen to like the top charts, I'm just like bibbidi bobbidi boo, bibbidi bobbidi boo. Before midnight, glass slipper. It's pretty accurate, I think. I don't know about you, Will, but I mean, I like it. Celebrity Jeff match. My name's Jeff. My name is Jeff. I really do love 22 Jump Street. I think it is probably the best comedy sequel, but that was a whole other episode that we was talking about a couple weeks ago probably. But today we're talking about fight scenes, and we're going to get to them. We're going to get right to it with The Matrix. Let's talk about The Matrix. The Matrix, speaking of like fairy godmothers, there's some like, I guess Morpheus is the fairy godmother for Neo in that. What's up, Kelsey, Alabama? We're talking about fight scenes today. We was talking about that fight scene between Jeff Goldblum and the punk rocker from yesterday, which wasn't really Jeff Goldblum, and I don't really think that guy even listens to punk rock. But there was a skinhead type dude yesterday fighting some tall, spindly Jack Skellington looking MFer, and they was fighting. Man, they got into it. That skinhead came after Jeff. I'm still talking about it. What's up, Tatiana Wilkinson? Welcome. Thank you. Yes, Tatiana brought pizza, everybody. I hope you like pepperoni or cheese or mushroom. It could be any pizza that any pizza that you desire. It's your imagination pizza. It's your, it's your mind pizza. I would really love pizza. You know what? I get pretty like strict about pizza because I'm from New York and then I live in LA now, and there's no pizza here. Every time I go around, I'm like looking for pizza. People are like, "Oh, you haven't had the pizza over at pizza pplace?" And I'm like, "No." And they go, "Hey, you know what? You're from New York. You're gonna like the pizza over at Genovese's. Go over to Giovanni's and have some Geno's pizza." And then you have the pizza there, and you're like, "Guys, what have you led me to? This is not accurate pizza. It's like you reconstructed pizza from a photo that you took. It's like you're aliens and you're just trying to reconstruct an environment in which you think that I belong." Sometimes I feel like a hamster in a cage or a frog. You know how when you collect a frog and you put the frog in a shoebox and you put like a stick with a leaf in there? This is a Mitch Hedberg bit, but you put a stick with a leaf in there to replicate its environment. That's what I feel like when sometimes people will go, they take me to an Italian restaurant or they like tell me to go to an Italian restaurant that they think I'll love in LA. And I'm like, you guys this is a simulation, isn't it? I'm on the holodeck. What's happening here? This is not real. This pizza, you guys, who played the prank with this pizza? That's how I feel sometimes. Scott Ian versus Pat Carney. We talking about heavy metal now? I saw Scott Ian in Malibu once. I went to this place. What's up, Notorious DIT? We was just talking about anthrax. It's a cow disease. Actually, we were talking about Scott Ian, who plays in the band Anthrax. He's a guitar player. And one time I saw him. It was unmistakably him because his goatee goes from here to New Jersey. It's pretty big. He got a goatee, for sure. I can't go for that. T. No can T. Listen. Yeah, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Today, actually, we're specifically talking about fight scenes in movies. And fight scenes in movies are some of the most spectacular things you can do in a movie. It's probably like the oldest thing since they started filming. They were like, okay, if boys were around, generally speaking, they probably started punching each other in the face in front of the camera. That's what I did when I was a kid. I used to watch Kung Fu movies every Saturday afternoon when I was a kid. It's like mid-afternoon. There'd be like a Kung Fu movie, not a marathon, but two in a row in the afternoon. And my brother and I, we would watch them for like all afternoon, and everybody was like Kung Fu fighting. And then we'd go outside in the backyard and start and punch and beat each other up. Because, you know, boys, that's what they do. We'd be like trying to do all the Kung Fu moves, trying to be expert martial artists. But we weren't. We were just like slap fighting mostly. Hey, Ange and O, good afternoon. We're talking about fight scenes and beating up your brothers, if you have any. It's good to do when you're very young. It's basically, you know, it's what you're supposed to do. It's the manual. Bruce Lee is like the king of all martial arts on film, particularly. And he's only done 3 movies. Isn't that crazy? Bruce Lee and James Dean, 3 movies, tops. Yet so incredibly iconic on account of cinema lasting forever. It immortalizes you. They live. It's funny you mentioned that, Notorious DIT, because in the thumbnail for this live video is the Keith David Rowdy Roddy Piper fight in the thumbnail. So I got the jump on that. Of course it's going to be mentioned in the best fight scenes ever, because that fight scene is 5 minutes of great, awkward semi-wrestling. It's pretty awesome. And they get so tired. I love how the fight ends, because it's pretty much how every fight ever ends. It's just like, usually fights last like that fight that was on the internet yesterday between Jeff Goldblum and Punk Rock Dude. If you guys remember, if you guys Twitter at all, you'll see that everywhere on the internet. Usually fights last about 30 seconds. There's like this burst of adrenaline, there's a bunch of fighting, and then it is established quickly who is the dominant person or who won. Usually with just like one or couple 3 punches to the head, and someone's like, okay, that you punched me in the face. Now my face hurts. I'm going to take a break now. I'll be over here. I'm going to be over here with Scott Ian's goatee. And then they'll leave the room because they don't want to get punched anymore. So fights usually last 30 seconds. But if you are John Carpenter and you're directing They Live with a professional wrestler, you're going to take advantage of the fact that you have a professional wrestler on your team. And then maybe you might give the professional wrestler carte blanche and say, hey, dude, Keith David here is also physically imposing, and he's a good actor. So why don't the two of you, why don't Keith David act at you, and why don't you wrestle at Keith David? And you could have what is considerably a spectacular and legendary and perhaps one of the greatest fight scenes of all time in the movie They Live. Yes, Angela and O, she mentions, rest in peace, Roddy. Yes, we all miss him. He was a sad one to go. He seemed like a genuine guy that liked to play the bagpipes and wear kilt and also wrestle and throw people. He did many throws. I think he even does a suplex to Keith. He takes Keith David and he takes him up in the air and drops him. He does a drop. I forget that move, what that's called. Is that a suplex? Or suplex is when you grab someone behind and you like land them on their neck behind you. He does a throw, a flip, if you will, a reversal. There are many reversals in that fight, and I think, you know, if you're Keith David, you're just well, the point is that fight ends just like every other fight, and they just kind of like look at each other and they're locked up and they're like, hey, I'm done fighting. Are you done fighting? Yeah, I'm done fighting. I'm tired. Let's go home. Let's stop fighting. Fighting is pointless. Why do we even fight? Why are we even fighting, Keith David? You want to come over and hang out with my friend David Keith? He's also an actor. Similar name. He actually writes your name on his SATs. Suplex. Tatiana Wilkinson says she grew up watching Bruce Lee movies. I grew up watching Bruce Lee movies, but that only took an afternoon because he only made 3. Actually, it took 3 nights in a row when I was very young. I mean, I kind of grew up on Bruce Lee movies too because my oldest brother watched a lot of Bruce Lee over and over again. And I remember like there'd be like weeks on TV, on network television, where they'd have Bruce Lee movies all week long. And then halfway through the week, they were like, well, we're all out of Bruce Lee movies. There are 3 movies. Maybe we'll start over again. But they always have Game of Death, Enter the Dragon, and does anybody remember the third one? Does anybody remember Laughter? What's the Will says, what if the scene was so long because the short film runtime? And yeah, you know what? They probably did pad that movie out because they really didn't maximize the concept of that film very shortly. So what you need to do is then exploit your character development through fighting. Through minutes and minutes of wrestling. This is what you need to do. Notorious DIT says 2 main characters fight equal many minutes. 1 main character plus random henchman equals 1 shoulder neck shot out for hours. Yeah, it's crazy. That's just so true. Yeah, you know what? That is a good observation of the discrepancy and the lopsidedness of fight scenes in movies. That also reminds me of the movie Midnight Run for some reason. Because when I was very young, the movie Midnight Run starred Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro. That movie, Robert De Niro goes to collect Charles Grodin as a bounty. And he's like basically bringing him across the country to collect a fee for him. He's like a bounty hunter. In that movie, in order to get Charles Grodin to shut up, Robert De Niro just always gives him a 1 punch to the face. He just punches him in the face, and then Charles Grodin goes to sleep. And he does that like 12 times. If you get punched so hard that you fall asleep, you are thusly concussed. And this dude got so many concussions in that movie. So I found that funny. But it's true. When you're one guy, if you're a Neo, say, in a Matrix, or if you're just one dude and it's a bunch of people coming, if you're the crazy 88, and in fairness, the bride, Beatrix Kiddo, really does take care of some of those crazy 88s. She maims every single one of them, actually, which is pretty impressive. So every time they do come toward her, she like chops a limb off or stabs them through. So they're probably going to be down for the count. But if you swat off henchmen like flies when you're the main character. But if you fight another boss, like if you're in Game of Death and you're Bruce Lee and you enter the building, you're like, okay, first floor, first level boss, gonna be easy. Second level. You'd think that the bosses would get actually successively easier to beat. You think that they would have like the big tough guy at the front door. I guess, I don't know. I mean, it depends on your strategy. If you have the toughest guy, you'd want him guarding the door so he could just like swat everybody away. But Bruce Lee works his way up to the top guy. And why does the top guy, if he's such a good fighter, why does he need all that protection? You might find yourself fighting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You may ask yourself, is this Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Aren't you a professional basketball player? Don't I see you running up and down the court every night? And he could be like, no, I'm a kung fu fighter and sometimes an airline pilot. I'm all over the place, guys, with these references. Hopefully you guys are catching them. But yeah, Kung Fu Hustle is one of my favorite kung fu movies. Yeah, that's a good one. Kung Fu Hustle. Enter the Fist. What was that one called? Kung Pao. Enter the Fist. That one's funny. That dude is doing like push-ups, right? I thought he's doing 2-finger push-ups, and he's doing one, and then he's doing no arm push-ups. Those are hard. Those are nearly impossible. That's why it was interesting and impressive to watch him do those no arm push-ups. Stephen Chow was pretty. Yeah, these guys are all great. Yes, Angelo mentions, didn't Bruce Lee teach Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Yes, he did. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was one of his celebrity martial arts clients, one of his Jeet Kune Do studiers. He's one of the few people alive that studied under Bruce Lee, which is incredible. Bruce Lee loved to teach. He was an artist. He created his own martial art called Jeet Kune Do, and it is a kind of a freestyle situation where he can do whatever the heck he wants to beat in order to win. Exploit your weaknesses. Be efficient. Make sure that he's going the shortest distances, like the 1-inch punch, and maximizing the effect. So if you watch him, he's truly an artist. I mean, they call it the martial arts for a reason. There's a free flowing. There's a beauty to it. There's a dance to it. There's a musicality to martial arts. And there's only the only other art you could die from if you make a mistake is comedy. The two arts that you can either kill or die at. I made that up. I'm gonna tweet that later. Bloodsport, JCVD. Yeah, you can't talk about martial arts and all that kung fu stuff without JCVD and that split that he does in every single movie, guys. You can pinpoint the moment that JCVD does like the split. He's like, I'm gonna do the split now, and you're like, okay. Even in an awkward dance move. Even in an awkward dance scene, was that Bloodsport or was that Kickboxer? I think it was Bloodsport, Frank Dukes. But he's doing that he's doing a dance. I'm gonna learn that move because apparently the ladies like it. And then if I do that split, I've been working on the split. I've ripped all my pants so far. Also, I need surgery. Gonna dip over to YouTube. Go for it, man. Like the video if you're on YouTube. AristotleFullThrottle.com on YouTube. Always here every day on Instagram Live. Also, gonna expand on the platforms. Looking into different ways I could simulcast on all of the platforms. Hopefully to maximize this group discussion. There's a way to get everybody in the same chat room too, which I'm excited to learn. But what are some of your favorite kung fu or fight scenes? Captain America's fighting style is Jeet Kune Do. Oh, that is interesting. I didn't know that, but now that makes sense because if I think of that scene in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, when he jumps out the plane, lands on the ship, and then fights that dude. I was talking about this yesterday. I thought it was really cool. It's a really good demonstration of Cap's might and also his pride because the French dude's like, yo, you're nothing without your shield. And he's like, okay, well, let me put the shield away. Let me take my mask off and let's fight hand to hand. If you feeling that confident. And then he kicks that dude around and mops the floor with him. It's pretty impressive. But he gave the guy a fair chance. I mean, but the guy, I don't know what you're trying to do. This dude's a super soldier. Every day, guys. That's what we do. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're washing your hands. I hope you're looking after one another by not standing too close. Don't stand so close to me, says Sting in the song Don't Stand So Close to Me by the Police. But he's actually referring to his experience as a teacher and getting uncomfortable when his 14-year-old students would get close to him because he mentions a novel by Nabokov, which is Lolita. Weird. The best anti-fight scene in Indiana Jones. And how do you mean by that? Is that because Indiana Jones it's almost like a comedy of errors when he's fighting people? He's always trying to like not die and everybody's getting like bonked on the head. It is kind of cartoon fighting in Indiana Jones. Oh, I know exactly which scene you're talking about. That's the scene where in Raiders of the Lost Ark where Harrison Ford actually had dysentery or he had some kind of, yes, I know exactly. He wasn't feeling well on set this one day and he had worked out this whole choreographed fight scene with that big dude. So Now, if you remember in the movie, there's a crowd, and Indiana Jones is like kind of running through the crowd, and then the crowd splits, and then there's like the big dude. There's the Abobo character if you're playing Double Dragon, and he's swinging his sword like this. I'm out of focus. Sorry, guys. Let me just get back in focus. My camera doesn't like to focus on my face. It likes to look at the stormtrooper. I don't mind it. Here we go. Yeah, manual focus is always good. So you've got the Abobo character with the sword. He's like doing this one, and they were going to do this really extended fight scene actually. And while they were rehearsing it, Steven Spielberg was like, "Okay, so then you're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and the camera's going to be over there." And there was this really complicated camera situation. And just while they were rehearsing it, Harrison Ford, being the grump that he is, wasn't feeling too well, and he just took his fingers and went like this, like that, toward the guy who was swinging his sword. And Steven Spielberg, being the genius that he is, was like, "That's it. You just saved us a day of filming. We're going to film that instead, and we're going to move on." So famously, the guy comes out with the sword, brandishes it, does this whole thing, and then Indiana Jones pulls his gun out and murders him. There's a murder that happens in the streets of where was that? Bombay? It's okay. It's a third world country. You could just murder in the streets. It's totally fine. Indiana Jones, he got away with it. He's a college professor. He can claim intelligence, not ignorance. Let's see. That fighting scene with Winter Soldier when he fought Bucky in the street. Chef's kiss. Yes. That fight scene was amazing, Anjo. I'm glad you brought that up, because they really did that knife work in that scene. They really did. So when you look at the behind the scenes footage of that fight scene between Captain America and the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky Barnes, aka Buck, aka Lefty. I call him Lefty. In that fight scene, they're fighting, and they're like, a knife is being like thrown, and they're catching the knife, and they're doing all this. There's like a couple real quick moves, and they're caught on camera, but they really practiced it, and they really did it, where they're throwing this knife and spinning it and trying to murder each other. It's really, really cool. Some cool stunts in those movies. If you watch the Corridor Crew, they'll go over a lot of stunts, and it's really fantastic how they do it. And there's like some really interesting stunt people and fight coordinators. And by the way, this show is dedicated to all the stunt coordinators and fight coordinators in Hollywood, because they don't get recognized at all. They don't get an Oscar. Think about it. The actor shows up and is like, "Come on, I'm gonna fight you." And then they go, cut. And then the stunt guy comes in, stunt woman comes in. Flurry of like 10 minutes of spectacular, like coordinated artistic moves and fighting styles that take years to learn and years to execute gracefully. And then they go, cut. And then the actor comes back in. Boy, that was really hard for me to try and murder you right now. I'm a little sweaty. Maybe there's a little cut lip. Maybe my eyebrow has like a cut on it. Maybe I have a nosebleed. Whew, that was rough. Meanwhile, a lot of the times the stunt person will be in the hospital in the emergency room because they like fell off of a roof because it's part of the stunt. And then my favorite thing about stunt people are like, they'll ask her, they'll say, "Hey, stunt lady, how did you fall off that roof when you was stunt? What's the secret to that? What's the secret to stunting?" And then she'll be like, "Well, first I'm on top of the roof, and then I roll down the roof, and then I fall off the roof. That's how I do it. And sometimes I break a bone." And it's crazy that we don't recognize that more. It's insane. I'm like losing my mind. There needs to be an Oscar for... There needs to be 2 or at least 3 new Oscar categories. This is why I love the John Wick movies, because John Wick movies are what they are. They are stunt coordinators showing off how dope stunts can actually get if you have a minimally compelling premise, which I don't know if it's minimally compelling. If you kill my dog, I am going to murder like 100 people in the way of me and the person who killed my dog. So I don't blame John Wick. But if you just take a good premise that everybody can get behind, and then you can show all these coordinators working together and all of the stunt people working together and creating like the height of the medium, because a lot of times directors aren't stunt directors, they're not action directors, that's not their forte, that's not their wheelhouse. So you'll get movies like John Wick, which are directed by people who have whole teams of stunt people that they usually work with and trust and love and do some amazing action and execute it at the highest level, and it's really impressive. I love it. Those guys, there needs to be an Oscar category for them, and then there's also for mocap. The motion capture people are pretty phenomenal too, but I think it should be called Best Motion Capture Team. So that will include the actor whose performance they're capturing, and then the animators and all of the technicians involved in that. So there should be like a sort of production credit, Best Motion Capture Team Production, and then they'll just give that to Andy Serkis every year. I was told that it was to prevent people from taking unnecessary risks for an award. But stunts have always been around, though. They've just always been around. So, I mean, I get it. But Tom Cruise, like, strapping himself to the side of a plane is also an unnecessary risk. It's also, we didn't even ask for that. We didn't expect him to do that. Every time Tom Cruise is, like, hanging off the side of a plane or jumping off of a building, the tallest building in Dubai or something, you're just like, all right, cool, Tom Cruise. All right, if you want to, sure. I mean, you could have got a stunt person to do that, or you could have done that on a soundstage, and I still would have been like, yeah, neat. Though I think it's crazy that Tom Cruise jumps out of a plane in that last Mission Impossible movie, and they film him jumping out of the plane and doing a whole thing. However, then they like CG and all the clouds. The Corridor crew talks about this, how they like it would have been just really cool and shown off Tom Cruise's stunt prowess had they just allowed them to film the natural environment of him falling out of the sky. But they CG'd all this lightning and these clouds in, so they were like, well, you might as well have filmed it on a blue screen or green screen in a wind tunnel. A friend of mine was a stunt double for Eva Longoria and Desperate Housewives. Wow. That's cool. I didn't know they needed all those stunt doubles, but everybody needs a stunt double. I need a stunt double. I would just send my stunt double to the supermarket right now. Be like, you go catch the corona. You go spread that corona. Everybody, be safe. Wear your masks. Don't spit on people. Don't get your droplets on people. Keep your droplets to yourself. Buster Keaton did some amazing stuff before safety and camera tech was as good. Dude, so true. Buster Keaton risked life and limb. And I saw a whole thing on Buster Keaton recently. That dude was nuts. There's a very famous shot, and I'm sure you guys have seen it before, but it's Buster Keaton standing there, and then there's like that whole facade of the house or the building falls down, but he's standing in just the right spot so that the window on the second story of the house just goes over him. Like, if he was standing 1 inch in any direction, he would have just been completely clobbered and murderized to death. He would have been pulverized. He would have been pulverized into the pavement, this dude. There's another scene where Buster Keaton runs and jumps across a building and then falls because he grabs the side. Not unlike Tom Cruise in that last movie where Tom Cruise broke his shin in that last Mission Impossible. Which was impressive because Tom Cruise does walk it off, and they do use that take in the movie where he lands, breaks his leg, and walks it off. It's like, yeah, Tom Cruise, how does Xenu help you with that broken shin? How many thetans did you just lose? But You've got Buster Keaton. He runs and jumps and grabs the side of a building and then slips and falls. But Buster Keaton, being the filmmaking genius and stunt person that he is, decided, oh, you know what? I don't want to lose the stunt because I wasn't able to. He like broke his arm or something doing it. So he added a whole series of shots where he's falling down the side of a building, falling through awnings, grabbing onto things, sliding down all the way down to the street level, because he was like, oh, well, I still want to use that shot. How do I get creative and extend it? So he just kept adding to it. Genius. Gotta say the Die Hard scene was great. Googly moogly moment. Die Hard. Are you talking about, oh yeah, let's see. Cap elevator fight, Die Hard. Oh yeah, elevator fight. The Captain America Winter Soldier elevator fight is probably the best. Oh, I love it. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. When he's standing there in that elevator and there's everybody around and there's just like the air changes. There's a shift in the mood. He senses it. His heightened level of perception, I guess, it's like something ain't right. And he just accepts what's about to happen. And he says, before we get started, does anybody want to leave? Does anybody want to get out? Because he's like, all right, we're going to get into this. And I'm going to beat the crap out of most of you, if not all of you. So just giving you fair warning. That's a great scene. Oh, wow, what a great scene. Buster Keaton, though, that guy was a genius, and then they had to probably create laws to prevent people from doing that kind of stuff so that they didn't take unnecessary risks. The Every Frame a Painting episode, that might have been it. That might have been the Buster Keaton thing. There's a lot of stuff that I've been you just go down that wormhole on YouTube and you end up watching some video and not knowing who created it. But yeah, there's some really great stuff on Buster Keaton. Tom Cruise, multi-million-dollar insurance for stunt. Yeah, usually they film those stunts last too because they want to make sure that the movie's in the can. And then in the event that we lose a Tom Cruise, in the event that Tom Cruise perishes trying to strap himself to the side of a moving train, we're going to pretty much just make sure that we've got the movie complete so that we can still make our money back. It's pretty funny. Regardless of whether or not we have a Tom Cruise by the end of this. Oh yeah, Tatiana Wilkinson mentions Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the wire foo. I got that one written down right over here. Written down technologically speaking. Yeah, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with the wire foo. When I saw that movie, I did not expect to see that. However, I did grow up watching Kung Fu movies, as I mentioned before, and me and my brother beating the crap out of each other all afternoon every Saturday, which was fun. It was fun. It's just good fun. Maybe someone would end up with a fat lip. Maybe. But that movie was pretty phenomenal when I saw it, and they just start flying. Everybody in that movie just starts to float above the treetops and dance among the treetops. Beautiful filmmaking. Ang Lee, that dude. Then he went on to make Hulk, which... it's not bad, it's just weird. It's just a weird Hulk movie. Ang Lee actually performs all of the Hulk stuff, too. He is Hulk in Hulk. Speaking of stunts, I have a nominee, and throughout the actors did their own stunts in this. The first Haywire, Gina Carano and Channing Tatum, was excellent. I haven't not seen Haywire, but I will check that out. Channing Tatum is hilarious, though. The thing I like about Channing Tatum, I never thought we'd be talking about this, but this is how the show goes. We end up talking about things we never knew we would. We take left turns, we take right turns, we take Tesseract turns. We end up in alternate dimensions talking about how good Channing Tatum is at physical comedy. The dude is in 21 and 22 Jump Street, and you could see that dude knows why he's funny and how he's funny, as opposed to Jonah Hill, who Jonah Hill can just kind of like say things and keep being funny, and he'll just perpetuate comedy with his mouth. However, Channing Tatum will jump through a tuba or something. He will do a stupid stunt physically and land on his head for a laugh, and that is commendable. I think he is kind of a stunt comedian. And we're not going to end this discussion without talking about Jackie Chan being the greatest stunt comedian ever. Stunt doubles, Bruce Lee, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh, that guy was awesome. The dude who played Bruce Lee was so good. He was like, I felt like I was watching Bruce Lee. And then I like the idea that the Brad Pitt character was just kind of this macho guy that has this story. That movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, really does feel like someone recounting the glory days of how good it was back in the day when Hollywood, and I was on set with Bruce Lee, and I actually challenged him to a fight, and I won. I actually beat Bruce Lee. I think that's hilarious. That would never have happened because Bruce Lee notoriously would accept a challenge from anybody on set who wanted to fight him. So people would be like, hey, you ain't bad, you ain't nothing. Like the Michael Jackson video that is 18 minutes long called Bad, directed by Martin Scorsese. They'd say, you ain't bad, Bruce Lee, you ain't nothing. Or something. And Bruce Lee would say, okay, well then fight me. And they couldn't fight him because he was too much of an artist. Stunt doubles fights, Bruce Lee once. Yeah, sometimes you got to shadow box. Which movie did you really hate? Was it Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Because I really liked that movie. I loved it. I was enjoying it. I was laughing the whole time. I just thought it was really... I liked it. I felt like I was hanging out with with two guys in Hollywood that were like sort of accepting their fate. Or at least one was rejecting it and one was accepting it. It's an interesting movie. I could see how people don't like it. I could see why it has kind of this people who really like it and some people who are just like, it was all right. I actually rewatched it with my parents over the Christmas break in New York, and they were like, it was okay. It was good. It was all right. And I'm like, I love this movie. It's so dumb. Oh, with the guns and the shooting and the murders is great. I love it. Can we do something about the heat? Can we do something about the... It's a flamethrower. Oh, I love it. Tarantino, though, yeah, he's only got one movie left. And if we're going to talk about Tarantino and Kung Fu, we're going to have to talk about the whole Game of Death, Crazy 88, Beatrix Kiddo the Bride fight scene in Kill Bill. All of those fight scenes were amazing. Uma Thurman was incredible in those movies. Her ability to just be a complete badass from the start, from the jump, you're just like, all right, anybody try to mess with her, they're going to get their ass handed to them, and she got a 5-finger death punch you. What's up, Dooney? Our president was addressing the nation today. Yes. Sorry that you got distracted by that important prescient info that the president, I'm sure, disseminated upon the world, let alone the United States. Probably something about inhaling the vapors of bleach cubes that you would put in your pool filter, just to, to stave off the corona. Yeah, that's a whole other discussion, but I'm glad you made it, Dooney. Today we're talking about stunts. We're talking about the stunts and fight scenes, actually. The best fight scenes in movies. Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Donnie Yen. Yeah, get your priorities straight, Dooney. We need to talk about movie imagination fights. Fights where nobody got hurt or killed. People where they're pretending to slap each other in the eye. We don't need to know what this president is saying about anything ever. Here's a rule, guys. This is an aside, and I would not talk about this if Dooney had not brought this up, but this is an aside. The president, he's very easy to figure out. I don't know if you've noticed. No matter what he says, no matter what he does, just think of the president. This is the only thing he ever thinks about. Ever, ever, ever. Besides like the test tone when you see color bars. Boop, that's probably what's going on in his head 24/7. Every now and then there's a blip which is, how does this involve me? What does this mean about me? How do I protect my image? That's the only thing he ever thinks about. If you say there are people dying on the other side of the planet right now from a nuclear war or something, anything, he'll say, my numbers were good. I have good ratings. I'm the best. Some people are saying I'm the best. So there's really no... It was a great question someone asked him the other day. She said to him, he's like, we've got the best testing. We've got the greatest testing. We've got such good testing. It's the greatest in the world. And this woman asked him, why is it so important for you to say that? And he ended the press conference, basically. Because just saying we have the best testing doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Who cares? Because clearly we don't actually. Get away from people. I mean, stay 6 feet away. All right. Getting back to the discussion. Oh, you're South African. Okay, cool. You've got the South African president, which is probably a much better president than ours. My bad, Dooney. Our bad, our collective bad. When you said the president, I thought you were talking about the president. It's Jackie Chan and Jet Li. Yes, they are legends. Jet Li, of course, in the movie Hero. So much good fight. All the good fight. Donnie Yen in that. They play music against each other. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, our president is basically a rapper. He's like, fast cars, beautiful women, money, cars, golf course, Mar-a-Lago, golf course, fast cars. People are like, excuse me, president, there's a pandemic. And he's like, Mar-a-Lago, it's a beautiful place. Maybe people will stay at my hotel. And then they're like, Mr. President, people need to cover their face and not murder each other with coronavirus. And he's like, maybe people could stay at my hotel. He's a terrible person. Alan Cummings in X2. Oh, yeah, that was a pretty cool fight. That's an interesting, when you bring up the fact that he plays Nightcrawler and he's running through the White House trying to kill the president in that one. That's a good fight scene. It's really, really cool. I got to give something to the X-Men movies. The Bryan Singer X-Men movies. The Sexual Predator Bryan Singer X-Men movies. Sorry, guys, but Google it. The X2 movie, that scene where Alan Cumming is running through the White House, disappearing and reappearing and punching, and it's just so beautifully choreographed and executed, which, again, they kind of bring that back when Quicksilver in Days of Future Past does that time in a bottle scene, which is just, that's cinematic history right there. When I was watching that, I was like, oh, this is why you go to the movies. It's rare that you get a scene like that. The movie is pretty good, but a scene like that is like you're sitting in the movie theater seat when you could in the before times and not wear a mask, and you're watching the screen, and it's just this beautifully executed crazy slow-mo stunt where he's like moving bullets and stuff like that. It's really cool, traveling at damn near the speed of light. Black Dynamite. I haven't seen Black Dynamite in a long time. However, I thought Black Dynamite, when I saw it... Sorry. When I saw Black Dynamite, I thought it was just a trailer. I thought it was just a joke trailer. And then I saw that it was a movie. So then I was like watching the movie. And then I was like, this is a whole movie. Oh, there's Arsenio Hall. Cool. I like him. If Jackie Chan doesn't end up in the hospital after shooting, I feel like that's a good point, Dooney. If you stick around and you watch the credits of every Jackie Chan movie, they show the outtakes, and those outtakes look painful. Jackie Chan needs to win that Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's start right now by campaigning for Jackie Chan. Lifetime Achievement Award in martial arts in movies, or at least stunt coordinating or something. But Jackie Chan, every time you see how the stunt goes wrong, and he has this technique, which I always found funny, because I would go to the movie theaters to watch Jackie Chan movies because they were freaking fun to watch. Especially the one, but he will fall and like literally like a dagger will be stuck in his shoulder, and he'll just go like, he like rubs it. I don't know like what kind of like Mr. Miyagi BS he's doing, but every time he like hits his head on a pipe, he's like, he just rubs it. So I don't know if he's got like magical healing powers or whatever, but he seems to just walk it off. There's that very famous scene. It might be Legend of Drunken Master, where he's fallen through the awnings all the way down. It's incredible. And remember, Jackie Chan studied Buster Keaton. There'd be no Jackie Chan if there was no Buster Keaton. And it's really cool the way that works. But Jackie Chan elevated his style. He created a comedy martial art performance, which it's just remarkable. The stuff that he does with props. I remember watching Rush Hour, and just the simple stunts he does in those movies. They get more elaborate, but in Rush Hour, when he would like jump through a little window or something, really, really cool stuff. And I like at the end of Rush Hour 2, I think it's at the end of Rush Hour 2, the outtakes when Jackie Chan jumps out the window and Chris Tucker just says, "Ain't gonna be no Rush Hour 3. That's really funny. Jackie Chan does take pride in the fact that he survives his stunts, and they almost kill him. Every movie, I remember when I was a kid, every movie that Jackie Chan came out with, they were like, in the role that almost killed Jackie Chan, which was like every role. Every single role that almost Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan, Angelo brings up Rumble in the Bronx. That Jackie broke his foot in one of the scenes on that, and then he just covered his foot in a cast, and they painted it to look like a sneaker. So half that movie, he's got this giant foot that he's running around with. I like the workarounds. Very creative. Anime fight scenes are probably one of the best fight scenes, probably because you do a lot with animation. Yeah, there's some really good, interesting animated fight scenes, but I think a movie like The Matrix takes that to the next level, takes it into the reality. And with photography, listen, don't forget, guys, you got the 90s. In the early 90s, you had Jurassic Park, which used these special effects that were groundbreaking, computer imaging and stuff like that. And also, the guitar player for Tool worked on the special effects for that. That's just a little aside that makes me happy. But George Lucas saw Jurassic Park and said, I want to make the next Star Wars movie using all of these computer-generated images. I want to just create all totally computer-generated characters for my movies. Before that, people were like, that's crazy. Let's just create animals and stuff like that. And he's like, no. And you could fast forward. Now we got Thanos, and we totally believe Thanos. And he's he's a motion capture villain, but he's CG. But George Lucas kind of dropped the ball on that because he was always the innovator. He was always the person pushing the forefront of technology in films. And in 1993, he looked at Jurassic Park and said, I want to make the next Star Wars like that. And the next Star Wars didn't come out until 1999, which is the same year that The Matrix came out. Now, The Matrix pushed forward. They said, hey, let's actually take things up a notch from, or also synthesize computer CGI with actual photography. So the stuff in The Matrix is really cool because it's all photographed and stitched together digitally, but the bullet time stuff is a series of 180 cameras that are sort of wrapped around the actors and performers, and they'll do these wire stunts and stuff, and then they'll shoot the cameras all off at once. So that means you've got pretty much every angle that you could feed into the computer and move around and circle your image. Or they'll shoot them off in a sequence so that you can actually move, and you'll move around the character as they're moving in slow motion in like a very fluid and cool way. We really didn't have that ability before. And just the cherry on that cake, I don't know if you put cherries on cake, but the cherry on top of that ice cream sundae is that The Matrix won the special effects for that year over Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, because Phantom Menace was relying on 1993 technology in 1999, and The Matrix was like, let's push the medium forward. And George Lucas was always responsible for pushing the medium forward. People like George Lucas, James Cameron, they will invent technologies to create their next movies because they always want to push the medium forward. However, George Lucas did a great job in The Phantom Menace. You can't quote me on that because it'll be out of context. Let me finish. George Lucas did a great job in integrating like 2,000 special effects computer generated shots in the movie, something ridiculous, unheard of. So he was innovative in that fashion because pretty much every movie we watch now has some form of CG in it. And he at least pushed things forward that way, but he didn't push the medium forward in a way that the Matrix did. And I think that the Matrix was really cool and responsible for a lot of that. And yes, John Wicks are great. I love the John Wick movies. Funny enough, The Matrix 4 and John Wick 4 come out on the same day next year. They're scheduled for release 1 year from right now, which is crazy. Yeah, Jackie Chan was doing parkour before it was parkour. Yeah, parkour. 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 Thank you. That was my parkour. I learned that from watching Jackie Chan and The Office. Anime seems extra dynamic because there are no limits to camera moves and framing. Yes. So anime is funny though. However, when I'm watching anime, sometimes there's so much like screaming. There's so much like the character will go, and then they're like, that everything around them starts to explode, and then there's like a cut to like their face, and they're like, and then there's like a slow motion punch. There's all like that goes on. Basically, Matrix Revolutions. And the next Matrix, I think, is called Matrix Convolutions. Convoluted. Because it's, how are they going to make another Matrix, everybody? How are they going to make another Matrix? That's a real question I have for you. How are they going to go ahead and do that? Only one of the Wachowskis is doing it. I don't even think they got Morpheus back. Did Morpheus die? I don't even remember. I only saw Matrix Revolutions once because that's all you need. That's all you need with that movie. It's mostly just hanging out in a train station, that movie, with nobody. 360 camera drones. Yeah, now they're doing some really cool stuff with 360 camera and programmable drone shots, guys. There's a really cool drone video from about 5 years ago, maybe 6, that is by the band OK Go, who I know. I know some of the guys from OK Go. They're pretty cool. Like, I have an association with them. And they, interestingly enough, have really pushed the music video medium to a next level ever since they did the like silly dancing on treadmills videos. But which is funny because they actually performed that live on the MTV Video Music Awards about 10 years ago, where they were dancing on the treadmills, maybe 12 years ago. And Damien, the lead singer, almost freaking ate it. He almost bit it. You can watch that in slow motion. His foot gets caught and turns and almost rolls, but he just brushes it off and just jumps on to the next treadmill. And he talks about that, and he says, I almost like bit it on live television, which would have been a spectacular stunt. We would have all loved it and would be talking about it today. It's almost like, Damien, you should have fallen, because we'd still be talking about it. Do I have high hopes for the Matrix reboot? Well, Dooney, my response to that is, how they gonna make another Matrix? For real. How they gonna go make that? Everything got blowed up. Did they make peace with the Matrixes? They made peace. Aren't they just gonna reboot the Matrix? It should be called The Matrix Rebooted, because they gotta reboot it, and then Neo, because they're gonna be another Neo. Every Matrix has a Neo. So here's the lore of the Matrix, which takes about 10 minutes of explaining by a dude with a white beard and a white suit in a big room of TVs, because the movie somehow can't explain. Anyway, you guys all know the exposition scene I'm talking about, where the dude is like, you're the Matrix, we the Matrix, I'm the Matrix, you the guy that we plan for every time we build a Matrix. You're going to show up here, and it happens every time. This is the 6th time. I get it. You're Neo. You think you're the one, but you'd like the 6th one already. We account for this when building matrices. We account for you to show up eventually. So I think in the next Matrix, they should reboot the Matrix like they sort of did with the little girl creating the sunrise at the end of Revolutions, and they just recreate that movie, recreate the Matrix, and then have some other. Maybe the little girl becomes Neo. Maybe she becomes Neyo, Neo, like the artists. Inception 2, The Matrix, says Notorious DIT. Good point. Yeah. Inception is kind of the Matrix of the last 10 years. I like the Inception, though. I was watching a thing on that was pretty funny. This is what I saw. It was that little kid. Did you ever have a dreams? That kid? If you guys know that. But it's the scene from The Matrix. I mean, from Inception, where Leo Dio, he all like, LDC's like talking to Ellen Page, and he says, she's like, but what is it? Like, how do I even, what is the thing? And then the world starts to change, and it cuts back to LDC, and it's the little kid, and he's like, have you ever had a dreams if like what you guys know what I'm talking about, right? If you don't, I'm gonna play it because it's my favorite thing ever. Have you ever had a dream? There's this little kid on the internet, and if you just like Google him, you'll hear him explain. This is a literal thing from a TV show. This is a kid talking, and it's the cutest thing ever, but it's also very funny.
Have you ever had a dreams that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
That's one of my favorite pleasures in life, is listening to that kid fucking try to. But I agree with him. It's like, yeah, I've had that dream where it's like you could do anything. But I'm glad it took. It's the cutest thing because that's basically my show. That's how I talk. This is that kid. I see myself in that kid. That kid is like me. He becomes me when he grows up. I'm talking like to you, like him. If so you could do so much that I can. Have you ever had it? It's like you could do so much. You could do anything. Guys, you got to check out this kid. I might have to play it again because it's the funniest thing. Because it birthed every meme ever. Now that they're like people who play music to it, and they turn it. It's a meme. I don't know if you guys know this, but the internet has memes. And you take memes, and then you just do them over and over again, like this one.
Dreams that you have you ever had a dreams that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Aristotle Full Throttle on Instagram Live. You can hop over to YouTube if you want to continue the discussion for another 5 minutes or so for bonus Full Throttle. But I think this was a lively discussion. We covered it all. We covered The Matrix. We covered Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen, Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Game of Death. That was fun. We also talked about martial arts being dope. Martial arts are the best. If you can involve yourself in a martial art, it's good for the mind, body, soul, and for your fists. Trump at 6 years old. That's Trump at 66 years old, my friend. That is Trump this afternoon. That was today's press conference. That's the one that Dooney was talking about earlier. He's like, listen, sorry guys, I just got here, but I was listening to the president address the nation.
Have you ever had a dreams that you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
Thank you, Mr. President. Everyone in this room is now dumber from having heard that. Thank you guys so much on Instagram. Hop over to AristotleFullThrottle.com. We'll wrap up the discussion there. But as always, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. I'm Aristotle Full Throttle, your bro in the know with the fro. And I'll see you tomorrow, noon. Be there. Hey guys on YouTube, have you ever had a dream that you could do so much you could do anything? Yeah, that kid is incredible. He's just a genuine kid. I think he was just a little bit nervous because they asked him a question on camera, and that was his answer, and it was honest, and it's beautiful. And they decided not to edit it, which is really a credit to the editor on that one. They were like, "Hey, you know what? There's something pure about this. I like it." It is a great kid. Kylo versus Luke in The Last Jedi. Ooh, that is a good fight scene, Will. I might take us out on that one, actually, because that's a really important fight scene to me. Because the greatest thing about that fight scene is that they don't fight. Guys, I think that Rian Johnson, out of all of the people who have made Star Wars movies in the last 20 years, Rian Johnson, 25 years, is the only one, I think, who understood the Jedi more so than anyone. I know this is controversial. I know you're going to hate this. But Rian Johnson is the only one who truly understands a Jedi. Jedi is not going to fight. Did Obi-Wan go around murdering people? Maybe he'd cut someone's arm off in a bar just to show who's boss. Maybe he would confront Vader because he had to. But that was very... It push come to shove. The beauty of the fight between Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker is that they don't fight. Luke's not even there. Luke comes to confront him, but he takes advantage of all of Kylo's weaknesses. Luke's like, "Look at me, bro. Come at me, bro." He says, "I'm not going to fight you. I didn't come here to fight you." It is the greatest moment in Star Wars in the last 10 years. It is. When Luke walks out of the blast doors and there's a flaming halo around him and he walks out onto the battlefield and then Kylo shoots him and he's like, "More! Shoot that guy. That's my uncle. I don't like my uncle. We have a family dispute. I don't want my uncle around here. My uncle annoys me. Kill him." And he's just like, "More fight. Shoot this guy." And they're just trying to murderize Luke, and Luke's just like... There's beauty in that because it's intimidating to Kylo. No matter what Kylo does, Luke's just like, "Listen, I'm one step ahead of you, bro. I'm one step ahead of you, son. You think you got it all figured out, but you might have forgotten. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm literally skywalking." Guys, he goes across the galaxy. He's floating. He's levitating because he's in such a heightened state of meditation to project his image across the galaxy. Think about this. He becomes Luke Skywalker. He skywalks. He gets there. He's floating across the surface of that planet, which is beautifully thought of and designed, maybe a little contrived, but it's cool. The fact that the upper layer is salt and the under layer is red so that you can see. It's like that Q*bert level where you have to jump on all the squares twice to change them back and forth. It's like that. Except it's Luke Skywalker. And Luke Skywalker skywalks. It's the greatest thing ever. The best fight scene ever goes to Luke versus Kylo because Luke avoids every shot. He's toys with Kylo Ren. Kylo comes after him. He's just like, whoop, whoop. He's like, parkour. Parkour, parkour. Luke is dope. He totally skywalking in that scene. And he just puts his blade away. He's like, "I'm not going to fight you, bro. I mean, nephew." So dumb, guys. If you can read episode 9, the one that Colin Trevorrow wrote, it is much better than the movie that came out. The episode 9 that was rewritten by J.J. Abrams and then filmed by J.J. Abrams. It's not good. I don't like episode 9. We know this. I've established this many times. But I enjoyed reading, or at least having episode 9 screenplay read to me by this dude who uncovered it. It's about a 2-hour video or something, and he's actually going over the entire script beat for beat. And I enjoyed listening to him talk about the potential of the movie that was supposed to be way more than the actual movie that came out. That actual movie that came out, I was like, I don't like it. It's not a good movie. The worst, it's like the third, it's down there with the prequels. That movie that just came out, it's bad. Star Wars was such a great idea. It was such a beautiful thing to begin with, but it ended so poorly, and I feel sad. I feel sad that they squandered that opportunity. Maybe they'll reinvent it and come back out with it again in 10 years, and maybe it'll be good this time. But the MCU is what really brought us back to a dynasty of films that actually really are elevated and good. So it's been the MCU, and then before that, The Lord of the Rings, and before that, it was Star Wars. But now, and Indiana Jones maybe, I don't know. But now you got really, really nothing that kind of delivers on that level. Unless it's Twilight. Thank you guys for joining me. I think that you guys are fantastic and phenomenal, and I appreciate every day you energize me. You help me. You're helping me with the Rona situation, and I hope that this is helping you. I hope this is giving you some kind of sense of regularity, schedule. We can all feel a little bit normal being our abnormal selves talking about movies with such passion, with such fire in our bellies. Movies are fun. It's an escape. And we like to do those things. We like to have fun and escape. And stay safe. Look out for one another. Stay distant from one another physically. You all can go on a picnic. Just wear your mask and sit apart from everyone. It's very simple. If we're learning anything from the poor leadership in the White House, is that they're walking around with no masks on, and now there's reports that there's a virus spreading in the White House. Because guess what? They're not taking the measures. They're not doing it. I mentioned yesterday, when you go to the vet, when you go to the doctor, notice that they're like in hazmat suits with face shields and masks and their gloves, and they've got things on, and they're handling things with care. That's the level at which you should stay protected. When you're walking around with your mask around your chin like this, oh, hey, I'm wearing a face mask around my chin with my mouth and nose exposed. You're not taking it seriously enough. It's literally, and I mentioned this yesterday, it's like wearing a condom all day long, all the time, and then taking it off when you decide to be intimate. So guys, put your condoms on. Be safe. I'm Aristotle Full Throttle, your bro in the know with the fro. And I'll see you later.